Come in, welcome. What's that? No, you haven't missed anything. They're just about to start. Buffalo sports, of course. Everything. Bills, Sabres, Beauts, No, it's not very... Well, they certainly think they're funny. Listen, let me pour you a drink. Have a seat and lend an ear. You'll hear tales of sorrow and despair, endless droughts and infamous tanks, and things Mike doesn't like. Please, join us.
Welcome to the 716 Sports Podcast. I woke up this morning really excited. I treat today, the NHL trade deadline day, as like a Christmas morning. So I woke up a little before 8 o'clock and turned on NHL Network and did not turn it off for 8 hours. I have the privilege of working from home, and so although it wasn't the most eventful deadline ever, and I didn't expect the Sabres to make any huge splashes for any reason, I still love the day. I love the potential. I love the names being thrown around. I love just every team hoping to get better. And, you know, you have teams out there like Columbus. Jeff's wearing his Columbus Blue Jackets shirt today.
Yeah,
Columbus
myself and about 18 other people have decided to join the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Columbus is a new team. Welcome to the league, Columbus Blue Jackets, because they are not the same team they were a few days ago.
I really hope Jackets fans enjoy the next few weeks here before Panarin and Bobrovsky leave for Florida, and they have two draft picks.
Yeah, third and a seventh rounder.
Third and a seventh in the upcoming draft.
Ouch.
Sabres made some moves. Bandits with a big win at Rochester. Beauts with a big home victory, moving themselves closer to a home playoff game over the Riveters. But before we get to any of that, we have a chance to sit down, talk to our friend Pat Riley for the American Yard Games Championships, an event coming up that we're going to be sponsoring. So let's talk to Pat.
We are sponsoring our first event. So what's it called, Pat?
The American Yard Games Championship.
Tell us a bit about that.
So we're excited to announce for the first time we're bringing a unique event to the Buffalo area called the American Yard Games Championship. It's going to be held on July 27th. And what it is, it's teams of two get together, compete in a series of 8 different yard games, and they're going to be competing for a $5,000 prize pool. Teams of two compete in games like cornhole, can jam, washers, and a few other new games that people may not have played. It allows us to level out the playing field a little bit for all of our participants, and it's a great outdoor event. And we've had great feedback over the years doing this in other cities across the state. So for the first time, like I said, we're excited to bring it to Buffalo Riverworks in the middle of this summer.
So, Pat, everyone who's got that cousin, friend, family member, friend who's a little bit of a family reunion yard game hero should be piling up then to sign up for this event, basically, and make them put up or shut up is what I'm getting from you here.
Absolutely, and it's not just people of our age or these like, as you would say, family reunion heroes. We have guy-girl teams, females teams who have won good cash prizes from us. We have people all the way up into their 50s and 60s participating. It's a great community event. Everyone seems to have a great time at our event. We never have any issues with our players, and things always turn out great. We bring in a bunch of vendors. You'll get to see a bunch of new yard games that you may or may not have played before, but at the same time you'll also see the classics such as cornhole and can jam, among others.
So you mentioned the games that will be going on at this event. How does the competition structure of it actually work, though, between teams competing in all of these games?
So the event is broken down into 2 phases. In the morning, we'll start registration at 10 a.m., and then we're going to kick right into preliminary round. Every team that registers is going to be able to participate in at least 8 preliminary games, and how that's going to work is before the event, once signups are locked in, we're going to split all teams into divisions a la maybe World Cup soccer style. We'll have a live draft show. We'll put everyone into divisions. At that point, we'll also draw everyone's division color because we provide all of our participants with free event T-shirts. It helps us keep the event coordinated, but at the same time, it gets some long-term benefit for not only participants but sponsors as well. And after the prelims are finished, we'll take a lunch break. Everyone will be able to sit down, grab some food, get some beer while we put together our playoff bracket. Usually, in the past, about half the teams, the top half of every division will make the playoffs, and then in the afternoon we'll play down to in a single elimination style playoff format where teams will in the playoffs teams actually get to pick their games, so it's not totally random. They'll get to pick their best games, and there's some nuances and quirks to how the playoff format works, but we'll play down to two teams and eventually crown our inaugural Buffalo champion.
Now, for any team, anyone out there who's listening who's interested in participating in this, how does one go about signing up for this, getting themselves involved?
So there's two ways you can find out more about the event. You can go to www.theaygc.com. That stands for American Yard Games Championship. So www.theaygc.com. Or you can go to our Facebook page at the American Yard Games Championship. What I'm excited to announce is that all listeners of the show today can get a $10 off discount on their team entry for the event using code 716sports when they go to their checkout screen when they go to sign up.
And people say we never did anything for them. Well, here's direct proof to the contrary of that. Pat, anything else you want to mention about the event before we let you get on with your evening and catching the tail end of this game here tonight?
Being the first time in Buffalo, we really look forward to giving out a large cash prize this time around. And to stress, this event is for people of all ages. The games we've selected and the format we've chosen gives everyone the possibility of a shot at this prize. Being great at one game isn't going to win you this championship. Being average or a little bit better than average at all of the games is what's going to get you there. So you can find out more about all the games by going to our event page or website. You can Google how to play them if you haven't played them before, and we may have an opportunity to participate in some satellites throughout the city throughout the summer leading up to the event. So like I said, don't be scared off by the level of competition you think you'll see there. There's people of all ages, all skill levels, and it's really a great equalizer, which has really made this such a great event in the past. So I really look forward to seeing everyone in July. And like I said, 716 Sports, $10 off discount code for all of your listeners.
Yeah, July 27th, the American Yard Game Championships coming up at Buffalo Riverworks, and we hope to see you all there as well as we sponsor this event. Pat, thank you so much for taking your time out to talk about it here with us tonight.
Thank you very much. Go Sabres.
And thanks again for Pat taking his time out of his day to talk with us about the American Yard Games Championships. Again, if you are interested in signing up, we encourage you to use our code 716sports, and a few of us will be very involved, very actively at that event. We hope to see you all there. Come up and say, hey, if you see us, we'll be very noticeably carrying microphones and wearing 716 Sports podcast paraphernalia. So Steve mentioned in the intro of the show, we are recording on Monday evening. It is trade deadline day. And a little bit even more than trade deadline day, the excitement for us here in Buffalo really began on late Sunday evening for those of us with power and internet and cell phone service and some combination of the three in the windstorm we had here. Buffalo Sabres' biggest move of the deadline involves a trade of two young defensemen. As Brendan Guhle, who was really always that guy that we were wondering, when is he going to stick here? When is Brendan Guhle going to come and fix this defense? Well, he's not going to be coming to fix it anytime soon. He shipped off to Anaheim in exchange for Brandon Montour, another young defenseman, 24 years old, will be a restricted free agent when his contract expires. A guy who I feel like is almost kind of lost in the shuffle in Anaheim. They've had such struggles this year. As time will really tell whether Montour is just being dragged down by his teammates or whether he's part of the defensive issues that they've had there. But quick thoughts, guys, and we have a former SoCal guy, Ducks fan in the room. Mike, why don't you tell us what you think about Montour?
Well, Montour isn't as much known for his defensive prowess as much as he is for moving the puck, and he's a little bit more of an offensive defenseman. So, I don't know. I just see this move as kind of, and it's going to end up being kind of neutral. I don't think it really hurts either team. I don't think it really helps either team in any way, really. I think you basically just swapped players maybe to get Guhle a chance and maybe to get well, I heard that Montour didn't have much chemistry with anybody outside of Fowler and Anaheim, so that could be it. Just get him a new scenery, get him to new defensive partners, maybe pick up his game that way.
One of the things they talked about at the desk, I think it might have even been Brian Burke, he said that Montour's teammates said they had a hard time figuring out what he was going to do with the puck sometimes. And he said that's a good thing when the other team doesn't know. It's a bad thing when your defense partner doesn't know. But what he did say is that doesn't mean it's on him. It could just be a chemistry thing. He just might need a different pair, a different partner rather, because we've seen what he can do. Here's the other thing, and maybe I'm way off base because this could happen here too as far as Dahlin and Risto go. But I feel like he was stuck in the shadows of Fowler and Lindholm. I mean, Hampus Lindholm's no slouch. Cam Fowler's no slouch. And maybe if he's given a bigger role here, and maybe he won't be, if he's given a bigger role, maybe he'll shine. And Jeff and I were talking I hate to use money as the reference, but for $3 million, if this guy isn't a world beater, that's okay. If he slots in as a 4-5 defenseman who can play on the power play second unit, great.
Yeah, he doesn't have that Scandella cap that we were like, man, I can't wait till this guy does something or we have to get rid of him because for that contract and for being an RFA still, there's nothing that really feels impending doom for Brandon Montour. If he comes in this year, supposedly he's going to be in the lineup on Tuesday when the Sabres play at Philadelphia. If it takes him a while to get the system, I don't think anyone's going to panic right away.
I think, too, if you look at what the Sabres gave up, I'm going to sound like a total homer here, and I can be critical of them, but I'm going to sound like the homer. They gave up a first-round pick. It's something like Anaheim will get to choose whether it's St. Louis
the conditions
or
of the pick.
San Jose.
It's the San Jose pick, unless the St. Louis pick is 20 or higher. Then they get the choice of the St. Louis pick or the San Jose pick. So if the Blues, who have found something in this part of the season, and it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for them to make a deep playoff run, if the Blues pick is better than the Sharks pick or vice versa, they can have their choice.
But either way, you look at the years where the Sabres had multiple first-round picks, and Grigorenko Girgensons, only Girgensons is here, and he's playing fourth line, and then Ristolainen and Zadorov, only Risto's here. So my point is, I don't think that they're going to miss that first-round pick. Maybe they will. Who knows? And I think the only way the Sabres regret this trade is if Guhle becomes a top 3 defenseman for Anaheim, and will he? I don't know. I love Brandon Guhle.
So I will start this willingly saying that I don't know anything about Brandon Montour. But real quick, Mike, describe the kind of player Montour is again.
Like I said, he's basically a puck-moving defenseman. He's not as much known for his defensive skill, but all of Anaheim's defense was a mess this year. So Anaheim has had a lot of problems, but he's usually pretty solid. He's especially during the playoffs. I mean, he's played, I believe it was 3 playoff seasons.
At least, this is his 3rd season, I think.
So what Mike said to start,
drafted in 2014.
Mike said to start the whole thing. What Mike said to start the whole thing was sounded a lot like Brandon Guhle to me. I feel it like it's no real net change. I feel like they are basically interchangeable players.
But is there an advantage here because Montour's a righty, and right shot defensemen seem to be more of a premium? Not on this team now that they have Bogosian, Ristolainen, and Montour. But I think that the right shot defender is generally more valuable. They have Nelson too, but I don't know. I think it's always hard.
That's got to be the reason they got him.
Yeah,
maybe. Cause, I mean, the stick hand matters on defense just for the pass out of the zone. But what I'm going to say is Brandon Guhle. So it sounds like you're getting Montour with less skating ability because Brandon Guhle is one of the best skaters I've ever seen as a defensive prospect. And I was looking at the Ducks the comments in the Ducks Twitter on the trade, and I've seen a lot of fans generally hated it, but they're really going to like Brendan Guhle over there. He's a really good player.
I'm pretty sure they don't understand that really Guhle here was more of a victim of numbers than anything else, especially when you have a lot of guys with NHL contracts that you can't send down to Rochester. What are you going to do? You're going to keep the kid down in Rochester who you can keep there instead of try to maybe shove somebody through waivers or who can't be moved down to Rochester, and what are you going to do?
The other thing, too, is Guhle played 20 NHL games over 3 seasons. 23. Okay, 23 games over 3 seasons. And, I liked him, but he didn't do enough to stick.
Yeah, that was
and
exactly what I was going to
right?
say.
And Montour
games.
has done enough to be an NHL player for years in a tough
Right.
division, whatever.
It's tough if you believe that Brandon Guhle is going to become a top 2 or top 4 defenseman.
Sure.
And he certainly very well could. He might get a chance to play top 4 defense minutes in Anaheim when he joins the team this week. But Brandon,
we'll see
in
if he ends up with the
23
goals or with the
NHL
Ducks.
games, I never saw anything from Brandon Guhle that made me think, well, this guy's...
But you also only saw 23 games.
100%. But I've seen things like that from Brandon Montour in 2.5 seasons. And yeah, he's had a few more games, but he's putting up NHL points and
If
NHL
you look
minutes.
at some of the goals they
Guhle's
show
never
in his
done much.
highlight reel, like his intelligence to jump down in the play and make a good pinch and then to pick a corner looks pretty good. Now, I realize every player you can look on YouTube and find highlights of that, but when you look at some of the decisions he makes, like you see him at the blue line and he realizes that the puck's going to be to the slot, and he jumps into the play and claps home a rebound or something, it looks good.
It seems almost like kind of like an accelerate the build move because like Montour's NHL ready.
Sure.
Guhle may not be.
And that's
Right.
fine too,
at the
because like
same
I said,
time,
they've
they're
got
about
3
the same
first-round
age.
picks. Yeah, and they've got 3 first-round picks, so that really doesn't end up losing much. And they have a plethora of defensemen, so I'm okay with them accelerating the build at the cost that they paid, because I don't think that they gave up. They didn't end up worse for wear because they mortgaged the future or because they gave up their top prospect. They didn't even give up their top defensive prospect.
Yeah.
Like that would be Dahlin or maybe
Will Borgen.
Borgen. Right, exactly.
I think Dahlin makes Guhle super tradable.
Sure.
Because
Yeah,
Dahlin
absolutely.
is Guhle in a lab genetically modified.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a great
speed
point,
and
Justin.
The things that we've seen Rasmus Dahlin learn to do in the NHL with the puck are just mind blowing. We 2 of us, Justin and I, were at the game on Saturday watching them beat the Caps, which we'll get to in a little bit. But just the things you watch that man skate, his vision and precision, the play that he makes to lose his stick, get back to the bench, get himself reset, get himself set up for that pass, and rip that shot home with no tape on his stick is just... you can count on one hand the amount of defensemen in the NHL that would be heady enough to make that play and score that goal.
The other thing that I say about him is he does this probably about 5 times a game. He goes to retrieve a puck that gets chipped into the corner. He checks over his shoulder and someone, I don't know, Alex Ovechkin is bearing down on him, and he just kind of shoulders to the right and then turns to the left and just gets out of there. Like there's no panic, and he's such a smooth skater that, the other option is for the forward to bury him in by the numbers and draw a 5-minute boarding penalty, but he's so slick. Like he just twitches to the right and then goes left, or twitches to the left and then goes right, and he turns on such a dime that he's got the puck and he's bringing it up the ice.
It's just his vision. And the thing that when I was sitting writing for the website last night about the Montour trade, the thing that occurred to me is, man, you watch some things that Montour can do. Imagine him and Dahlin together on the blue line on the power play. Imagine them with Jack and Sam and Skinner or Sheary, whoever's over there. The puck movement and shooting ability, Montour has a shot that not many guys on this team can touch. Risto fires a bunch of shots, but how often is he really creating that precise angle shot that you want a defender to create in traffic? I think Montour adds something nice to the special teams. I think that whether this will work out and whether he'll ever live up to the potential that he has remains to be seen. There's just a lot I like about Brandon Montour.
Yeah, I don't hate the trade. I'm not saying I hate it at all, but it's just kind of weird to me because you're trading an offensive defenseman for offensive defenseman.
Yeah,
I think it's going to work out great for Guhle as he's going to get a shot finally because he's just buried down there right now. But I think as of today they had 9 active men.
They had 9 NHL defensemen.
Yeah.
He's going to get a shot too when Anaheim having so much defensive problems and not really having anybody quality to fill those defensive positions right now.
And maybe Montour is more comfortable here as a young player as he's a booger flick away from home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and let's see what the depth chart looks like for the Ducks now on defense.
Fowler and Lindholm.
Yeah, and then what? Because I don't got any other names for you guys. Sorry, I know my players. I play fantasy all the time, and I'm looking it up. So defense pair
Sammy
one
Vatanen.
is
Vatanen.
Lindholm. Vatanen's in New Jersey. Lindholm and Josh Manson. Fowler and Brendan Guhle will be estimated as the second pairing.
There you go.
Manson's one I was never really
Jacob
huge on.
Magna
yeah.
and Corbinian Holzer. I am not making these names up, folks.
Corbinian Holzer, the former Leafs prospect.
Yeah, so there you have That is their current defensive situation. So according to credit-to-dailyfaceoff.com, according to them, Brendan Guhle will slot in as a top 4 defenseman.
So basically what we come down
next
to is
Cam Fowler.
winner of the trade, Sabres versus Ducks, currently a wash. Winner of the trade is Brendan Guhle, who gets to play with Cam Fowler on a D pair in Anaheim for the near
Pass
future.
Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf.
I mean, none of that.
Yeah, but those two
mattered
are on the
this season for
downside of their
Ducks.
career, so.
Getzlaf is not
Another thing
Ryan
about the
Getzlaf on the cup years.
Another thing about the trade is, like, I feel like the Sabres' issue on defense is not offensive defensemen, but it is defenders that defend well.
Yeah, box out in front of the net.
Right.
and-
Will
So
Borgen.
I saw someone say that he's not great at 5-on-5. It's like, cool, because 95% of the games played 5-on-5 , so...
And
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
That was
he's greater
so
than- he's greater than
passive-aggressive.
1%, though.
That was hilarious. For those of you that couldn't see, which is everyone, he rolled his eyes as he said it.
It's an audio
That was
medium.
good delivery. That was good delivery of that one-liner, because that was super good.
At the very least, I mean, maybe they didn't solve the entire... nothing that they did could have solved the defense today. There were not enough defense moving to fix anything unless they want to sell a king's ransom for Stone, paying $8 million a year for the rest of his life.
And how about Bulio? We haven't talked about that. He goes to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
If you're not following, Winnipeg is without Big Buff and Josh Morrissey. So they need left shot defensemen right now. And I believe that both of them could be out for a bit here. Not the rest of the season, but these aren't little tweaks. I believe that they're both... Buff's been battling injuries all year, and Morrissey slotted into top-line power play, and with him out, it's been Myers playing top-line power play for the Jets. So where does Nathan Bulio slide in? Not surprised to see him gone. I'm bummed they only got a 6th-round pick, but it is what it is, because didn't they just pay a second for him?
Yeah, I think it was a second that they paid to get him in there. I guess at this point they were like, he doesn't want to play here, and we should get rid of him. And they just took whatever the best offer was at 3 o'clock, and I think everyone knew that he didn't want to be here, which kind of kills your trade value a little bit.
Now that's something that came up today too. Is it that he didn't want to be here, or is it that he was
gonna
mad
play.
that
He's
he
in a-
wasn't playing?
he's in
I
a
think he was
contract
complaining
year.
that he wasn't
He's in a-
playing.
One led to the other.
He's in a contract year and not getting any ice time, so he wanted to go play somewhere where he can get a show
Contract,
he can
yeah.
get a contract.
You only get so many chances
plus-
to make a contract in the pros.
And plus, you're a defenseman of the Sabres. You're a 7-8 guy in the Sabres. There's 9 active defensemen with the young guys in the wings. Like, you're never going to play.
Yeah, if he stays and re-signs here, then
mean,
Will
this
Morgan
is
takes a
just-
spot next year.
I mean, this whole defenseman situation here in Buffalo is just a mess.
But, like,
it's been poorly managed
A lot-
somehow.
A lot of people ask and question, why a shot matters for a defender. Like, whatever, it's just a shot, But it really matters not so much for the shot, but the pass. Say the NHL is so fast, everything happens like this, and you need every split second matters. So, like, say you're a left-handed D-man, and you come out from the right, you come around the net out to the right side of the net, and you gotta make a pass. The guy opens across the ice on the left-hand side. You have to turn your whole body to make that pass. It's a whole other movement. But if you're a right-handed defenseman coming around the right side of the net, it's like that.
What about playing the point as well, keeping the puck in along the boards instead of having to backhand yourself if you're playing at the right point?
Yeah, it matters. But it's more about the pass. It's more about the pass out of the zone. Really,
I
why
believe
it
I was
matters.
honestly asking because obviously you've
That
played
and,
hockey a lot
and
more
in
than
zone
me.
coverage against wingers coming in on your offside versus your natural side too, and how much range you can take away if you're on your natural side.
Yeah.
So it's important to have that balance of left and right shot defensemen. But we'll get a chance to see what Montour can do soon. He's supposed to be in the lineup against Philadelphia. So if you're listening to this podcast on release day on Tuesday, you will be eagerly awaiting with the rest of us what he can do.
Safe to say none of us hate the deal though. Like
Don't
no one's
hate it,
upset
no.
with it.
I'm intrigued by it.
I mean, it seems like Justin, the way you're booking it is at worst it's kind of a parallel. I mean, Guhle might be a better skater, but what you lose with that, you might gain in a shot and then NHL experience. I don't know, but I don't think any of us, even you, might kind of, you kind of qualified it as a parallel move kind of deal.
Right.
It's a hockey trade. It's
Sure.
a player for player move. Both guys who weren't going to get maybe their full deserved chance with their existing organization, and Brendan Guhle just becomes one of many previous regime players either moved this season, moved previously, or even moving again today. There were 3 Sabres former prospects who had already left Buffalo who were moved today. Nick Baptiste moved from Nashville to Toronto. Cliff Pooh moved from
Florida.
Carolina to Florida, like a true Buffalonian. And
Brendan Lemieux.
Brendan Lemieux moved from Winnipeg to the Rangers
for
in
Kevin Hayes.
the Kevin Hayes deal. Before we get in, can we just pause and reflect on how incredible it is that we got Jeff Skinner for a guy that Carolina gave up on through half
Yeah,
of
but
the
it also
season?
cost him what, like 2 first-round picks?
Whatever.
No, it did not. Nope.
Nope.
A second, a fifth, and a sixth, or whatever. A second, a fourth, and a yeah. Unreal.
We literally gave them poo.
Fleeced.
We literally and figuratively gave them poo for Jeff Skinner.
They traded him for a bag of donuts today.
Yeah,
Future
basically.
considerations.
Future considerations.
Some will turn on time with Jerko, but
Yeah, in like 3 years, there's gonna be a 7th round pick who flames out, and Florida's gonna send him back to Carolina for Cliff Poo.
remember back in the day we traded Jason Woolley for future considerations to the Red Wings. Did they ever consider anything? How do you know?
I feel like future considerations often become minor,
yeah, there's nothing.
very non-existent.
And
We're
I'm
like,
not
just
so-
take this guy.
I'm not
vending
salty
machine.
about the first round pick at all. And to be honest, once we know where these picks fall, I hope that Botterill is shopping any first round picks that aren't in like the top 15. Because the way it looks, the Sharks and the Blues are both going to be good and both probably going to be picking in the 20s and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because I am of the mind that general managers overvalue first round picks beyond once you get outside 8, 10. Nylander was 8.
If it's not a lottery pick, they overvalue it.
Yeah, and if he can get value, if he can get a GM who's looking for that second first round pick to bite, and I'm all for it. I'm not saying mortgage your future. I want him to hold on to one first round pick, and
Don't
preferably-
go full Columbus. Here,
Sure,
but-
sure, but you know I am of the mind that these GMs way overvalue the 23rd pick in the draft. And if you can get a top 6 roster player for that and a blue chip prospect, then I hope he does on draft day or something.
The important thing here today is the Sabres did not trade Jeff Skinner,
Or Rasmus
which is
Ristolainen,
telling
but-
that they are confident they're going to resign him.
Yep. Now they can
And
sign him
now
to 8
they're
years.
going to sign him to 8 years because it's past the deadline.
Correct.
And now, after what the Stone extension was in Vegas,
We have
and
an idea.
Skinner having the same agency, I think the terms are pretty laid out
Was
here.
it $9 million?
Yeah,
per?
but there is one difference between Mark Stone and Jeff Skinner, and that is Jeff Skinner clearly has healing properties like Wolverine because
Oh.
that dude's leg went the wrong way. His ankle, knee, it all looked dead.
The feeling inside the arena when Skinner's like scrambling on the ice trying to crawl back to the bench on Saturday was a moment. Like I turned to Justin. I'm like, well, there goes that season. Like the moment you're like, that's a serious leg injury, and we might as well just mail it in because of what he's meant to this team. I could not believe. None of us could believe because we're just up in the 200s. People started cheering with like second shift of the third period. Like they're cheering. It's like, holy shit, Skinner's on the ice. What the hell? And yeah, he just went down the ice and went back to the bench on that first shift. But
That's a
I
serious
have a
test.
picture of his toe stuck in the ice.
Yep.
His skate is facing like almost 180 degrees the
it's a-
opposite way that his body's facing.
right angle.
Why do you have a picture
His
of that?
knee, someone put it on social media. I did not take that picture. His knee is buckled, and if you were to see that picture, like it's like Alex Smith. Like it looks bad. Like his leg looks like it's brought to you by the letter J. And it's like
The Twitter doctors are calling it a torn ACL, and guy misses half a period.
yep, comes out in the
Unbelievable.
third, jumping on his feet and skating and crazy.
Playing out there on the power play in front of the net in the slot. Unbelievable. I thought you were going to say the difference is that Mark Stone doesn't have to pay an income tax because he's going to live in Las Vegas,
Yep.
and Skinner's contract to live here in New York, where I've seen people mention it. It might be a reason that Skinner seeks a little more money than
Yeah.
Stone because he'll have to pay New York State income tax versus Stone's out in Vegas.
Sure.
That's why players want to go play for the Dolphins. when
Same
they
thing with
retire.
Stamkos, right? That's why
Yep.
Stamkos would have went to stuck with Tampa Bay. It happens, but
Do you want to pay Skinner that kind of money?
what's that?
Do you want to pay Skinner that kind of money?
Yeah. And the
Nine.
reason is because
Nine?
he's one of the only players I've seen that actually makes Jack better. Jack plays with so many people that he makes better. I have not seen Jack play with many people. I would say that short list is Evander Kane, Sam Reinhart, and Jeff Skinner.
Those two are mutually lifting each other up.
I agree. And it's been really hard to find wingers for Jack that benefit from him, but also benefit him. And we know Jack likes to dish, and the fact that he can find Skinner who buries, I'm all for. I do not want to break up this duo, and don't even give me the salary cap and how much they'll figure it out.
When a Poso's gone on the offseason, they'll have plenty of money.
If Pittsburgh can pay Malkin and Crosby and Letang and Fleury up to this point, when Chicago can pay Kane and Taves and Keith and Seabrook and Crawford,
Because your lower level talent
You
came
can-
in at the right price
Right.
at the right skill
but
level
I'm not
as well.
worried about. I'm not worried about how much money is locked up in that top level because you find a way. And this team has struggled to find that top tier talent to play with Jack, and Skinner is it. So
Yeah,
pay the
I
man.
mean that's the same way that the Penguins were when Jason Botterill was in that organization. Is we're going to pay our top guys and lock them up, and then we'll figure out a way to create the Brian Rusts and Dumoulin's and all these guys who are coming up through the system who were so integral. Jake Gensel and their cup runs and things like that. They just need to get who's the base of this team. Those 6 guys. Just got to pay them what the market value is, and that involves paying Sam Reinhart. I believe we can all agree at some point during the next year to an extension past 2 years, because, man, has he found his game, especially the second half of this season. And then, you throw some prospects on there, and some of them are going to stick, and some of them aren't. But none of the ones in the last generation stuck at all. All those guys, the Bailey Baptiste lost generation, those guys never even got a chance to play here before they were shipped out.
And then you have as well cap going up, estimated $3 million this year. And when Seattle enters the league, the cap will go up again. So
it'll fix itself.
This is where you have people are going to hate me for this. This is where you have it really lucky that in 3 years Jack's only making $10 million because in 3 years Jack would be worth 15. With inflation, and it works the same. It's not just a Jack thing. Crosby makes $8.7 million. That man deserves twice that.
That next Austin Matthews contract is going to be amazing.
Oh, it's going to be the Brinks truck. Yeah,
but back it up to him.
Yep. But I'm encouraged. There's always hope. Hope springs eternal, and whether it's this season or not, it feels like when they start mixing in Olofsson and Borgen or whomever, and I don't know.
Jeff, you said in the offseason when they no longer have Kyle Okposo.
Yeah. Good question.
How do you suppose that goes away?
I don't know. I heard there's a retirement farm in California where Matt Molson rounders around with some puppies and Fred Jackson, and we just send him out there.
But you still would have to pay him.
Right now,
they're still paying Molson.
Right now, he's got about 24 million reasons not to retire.
Yeah,
he's not going to retire. He's going
I'm almost wondering, and this is I don't wish it on him. I want him to be okay.
100%.
That concussion in the Rangers game, if anything else happens to him, I'm genuinely concerned that he should not be playing.
He just came back less than a week later.
I know that doesn't make it right. Sports toughness and real life health toughness.
I don't think it's sports toughness.
On the heels of what happened to him last year.
I think he was just okay this time. Like I don't think it was a.
I think it's precautionary.
I don't think he was showing the symptoms.
I sit here and I think about what he went through last season and what we didn't know was going on with his health and being hospitalized, and every time that guy takes a tough hit or gets punched in the jaw because he made a shitty hit from behind, I just cringe. I don't.
Well, we all do.
I know, and I.
It doesn't mean he's going to retire.
I'm wondering if there's going to be an agreement to move him. That was what I thought, because he would have to tell you it's not working out here for him. And I know he has a no trade clause, but if there's an opportunity for him to go somewhere that he wants to be, and he kind of realizes,
you don't think he doesn't want to be here?
No, I don't
think anyone wants him to be anywhere else.
If you sit down and you say, "Hey, Kyle, do you think that things are going well in Buffalo for you right now?" Is he going to say, "Yeah"? Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe I don't know this guy, but he was a perennial 60, 70 point guy, and now he's not.
It was what it was like to play with John Tavares.
Yeah, well, exactly, but. I mean, he's had the opportunity to play with Jack Eichel, and I don't know. I don't dislike the guy.
He's not that player
and
anymore.
I really like his game. Let me go on the record for the 50th time saying I really like Kyle Okposo's game.
There's no quit in his game.
Oh, he skates every shift. He skates well. He makes good decisions. He puts himself in good spots. He forechecks hard. Just, I'd like some results.
The speed's not there. I think it's definitely lost a little bit of his skill touch since the thing he went through last year or whatever. Because you see a big drop off in his skill and his hands and his hand-eye coordination. You could see it. That game they put him back with Jack. You went to the Minnesota game. He was stumbling, bumbling,
awful.
Couldn't handle the puck. He was trying to move it.
You felt bad watching him try to play that way for 2 periods. All he could do was try to dig it out in the corner. But it was like Jack was playing a different game than he was. Jack was skating at twice the speed.
It is a brain injury, and it does affect your motor skills.
Maybe he doesn't, but you do play differently. When it's like Trent Edwards, right? When you know that you're in trouble, you kind of probably play a little.
You let up a little.
Did you ever look at Tyler Ennis' stats?
I honestly can say I never have.
Yeah, Tyler Ennis is one of my favorite players.
He had a nice goal tonight that was the game winner in that godforsaken fucking Sabres game that just ended.
Hockey DB, look at Tyler Ennis' stats, and look at the crazy drop off since he had that concussion with Buffalo. And this is the concussion year, 15-16. All these decent years here. And just total nothing.
I mean, part of it was on those teams he was expected to carry the puck 80% of the time on the ice.
That's when he had. He was out for almost a whole season. I mean, it was really bad.
He played 20 games.
Yeah. But that's concussions, man. We get it real bad when they fuck you up. Especially plays sport like hockey.
Yeah. I worry that Okposo, even more so because of his existing known health issues, is one bad corner collision away from just something serious. there's something lingering with him, and he might be healthy enough to play and skate and like contribute at some level, but he's not healthy because we've seen what healthy Kyle Oposo is. And healthy Kyle Oposo does not exist on the ice anymore.
Maybe if there's a postseason physical like Eric Wood had, maybe that's their out. Maybe they can figure out what's wrong with him, and maybe it's something that they've determined that it is a health risk for him to keep playing. Kind of maybe, I hate to say it, but maybe force a retirement.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about how what buying out his contract or whatever would do for the cap in the short term, with a couple of years left.
If he retires, it's going to be his wife sitting him down saying, "Listen, this isn't safe for you anymore. We have a newborn child."
Well, they said it's what, his fourth concussion, his fourth known concussion.
Yeah, fourth reported, which is for the hockey,
You can-
not to
yeah.
be that guy, but
That was my third
known-
reported tidbit.
reported. Yeah, reported concussions does not mean that's the only concussions that he has had.
He's still going to get paid by the Sabres if he retires, and I'm sure they would probably keep him around in some kind of capacity because he's that kind of person. They're going to keep running the front office somewhere.
that's fine. There's a lot of money
It
tied
is
up in that
interesting.
contract.
I do think I do think there is a possibility he does retire in the offseason due to these
How many years does he have
Brain-
left? Because they signed him, what, 6 by 6?
6x6, and I think
And
it's
that
his third
was-
season, right?
I think
Think
that is
so.
correct.
I don't even know.
I'm looking.
All those shitty years where we won like 50 points a season all blend together to me.
I'm right pumped wherever we got him. We got Kyle Oposo.
He was the free
He
agent.
was he
when
was
Stamkos
the
came
he
off
was the
market.
best free agent.
I
this
remember,
year.
yeah.
He
That
was-
dog is deciding now. I mean, then it sounded
No,
great, yeah.
You don't win them all. They went out and played for the biggest names and they got one.
He
Just didn't work
becomes
out.
a free agent in 2023.
Ooh, that is far from now. isn't
7
it?
years, $6 million a year. He signed 7 by 42 with a $25 million signing bonus and an average salary of $6 million a year.
I hope you were all sitting down during that. I mean,
Ugh.
it's a long time to be at this team.
But so
That's not the DiPietro signing, at least.
but 21-20
Can we Bobby Bonilla his contract?
21-22 he only gets paid $4 million, but I don't know if that nope, it's $6 million against the cap every year.
I'm sitting to the interior reign with Matt Molson.
Yeah,
Because they
for
only
real.
pay him $4 million a year the last 2 years, but he still counts 6 against the cap. So he has a no move clause 2016 through 2018. His modified no trade 2018-2019 begins now. He can make a list of 15 teams that he does not want to be traded to.
And no one's going to take that guy, though, that contract.
Yeah, no one wants that contract. He can name whoever he wants. No one's taking it.
How did we get rid of Molson? They loaned him to the interior? So what? Did we pay-
They waived him, I believe.
It's unconditional
because when
waivers.
you waive somebody, you don't have to keep
I
them
thought
in
he was
your
I
affiliate.
swear he was on loan to the interior reign.
Well, yeah, because they're not our minor league team. He's being loaned to a team that's closer to home.
Yeah, so I think we still own his rights, but they
Correct.
loaned
He's still affiliated with the Sabres, but he's not playing for the Sabres
He
affiliate.
definitely
Yeah.
for the Amherst, yeah.
He kept his NHL affiliation, but that whole thing's kooky too.
That's so weird.
That was another deal I was excited about because Molson played very well here and in Minnesota.
I'm noticing a recurring pattern is that we really like players who play next to John Tavares. So why don't we offer sheet Mitch Marner and get this all out of the way?
But Molson did do really. Molson did play well here, and then went to Minnesota and played well there, and then signed 5 by 5 and.
And then he got his guaranteed career-ending contract and said, "Okay, I'm good."
He's like, well, I made it. Time to lounge back in the kiddie pool. Just kick him up.
I mean, you know what your last contract? What else you playing for? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe trying to win
Winning.
something.
Legacy. I mean, legacy. I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's just kind
I
of.
want the whole human history to remember the name.
I just feel like
Matt Molson.
He'll
He
be
might not be that kind of
remembered in
person,
Buffalo.
but I think it kind of in the back of your head psychologically, you're just like, it just happens.
I mean,
Like,
some guys lose the hunger and some guys don't. I think he did. I think a lot of guys do, honestly. Get to that point in their career and they check out to a certain degree. Some guys just are killers who Ovi's going to be trying to grind slap shots on the boards when he's on one leg at 75. Like, nothing's going to
he's
stop
gonna
that,
go
man.
for that
He could still
Gretzky goal
score.
record.
Yeah.
He could do it, man. He's
So,
gonna
yeah,
do it.
we talked about this on Saturday when he scored that goal splitting. Believe it or not, he scored a goal splitting Hunwick and Boyu on a breakaway. I can't believe it happened. He's got a realistic shot if he stays healthy to get within sniffing distance of Gretzky's goal record at the pace that he plays at. And that would be quite a thing.
I know, like Rive's been talking about it. He needs like 50 goals a year for 5 years or something.
I
Yeah,
think
but
he can do it.
he might play more than 5 years.
Right.
I think numbers like what, around 40, and this year he could easily end up with 60. The way he's going,
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get 55
he's
to
already
60
at
at this
43
rate.
or
Yeah.
44 right now, and there's still 20 something games left.
I mean, who knows? He could be the next Yager. Just keep playing at a high level forever.
Yeah, I mean, he's
The guy is physically fit enough.
and if Yager didn't
he's
go
a
to the
monster.
KHL,
I think-
Ovechkin would be chasing Yager
I think
instead
it
of
was like-
Yeah,
Gretzky.
for real.
I
He
think
would
it was
be.
like 6'3", 240. That's a fucking tank.
built like a brick shit house, as they say.
Yep.
So 2 Sabres trades and a few Sabres games since we last convened. We have, of note, the Tampa game last Thursday, where I think they played Tampa very well. And it was just kind of the opposite ending to the Tampa game that we remember from the streak where Tampa outplayed us. We kept it close, but this time Tampa got the shootout goal versus us being able to drag it out and win in regulation. What a game by Carter Hutton in that game. And I think we rode that momentum then into Saturday's game where it felt like that's a game that we lose a lot.
And Hutton played well again.
Hutton played great again. Man, they just played lights out against Washington. It's frustrating to watch the team that played Saturday and not see that team night in and night out.
Well,
that was a great 3-period effort.
How long tonight? They played the Leafs and just lost 5-3.
Mm-hmm.
How long of the 60 minutes tonight did they play that way? Because it was
25-30.
Right. They played it for the whole first period and for most of the third.
I think the Sabres
that
outplayed
5-minute lapse in the second was all it took. They scored 3 times in 2 minutes.
I think the Sabres outplayed the Leafs tonight for 50 minutes.
I think that's right.
And usually you can't get away with. Usually it's a 5 or 10 minute stretch like that will kill a team. Usually it will not make a team.
Yep.
But Toronto definitely made it in that short
Well, they've got
stretch.
so much offense, you can't give them that many chances. And, I mean, Hutton, poor guy, after playing 2 great games, gets left out to dry. Omar comes in and almost brings the team all the way back with how great he was when he came in. But then a couple of breakaways, the puck on the power play goes off the inside of the ref's skate, splits the D, goes down for Kapanen.
And probably their fastest player. How nice is that to have an offensive player with that much speed you can put out on the PK? Because Kasperi can fly.
Yeah.
And he did.
He's like Larson if Larson could shoot and skate.
So he's nothing like Larson at all. He's just like
they both
Larson.
play hockey.
He's just like
And kill
Larson if he
penalties.
could just skate.
They're in the
and
same
shoot.
league.
Yeah.
They play against each
same
other.
division.
Almar came in and got shelled. He made about 5-6 great saves.
That game could have been 4 or 5 goal difference when he came in there, and
I think
it
he
wasn't.
faced 3 breakaways in like the first 3 minutes just on the ice. And they finally scored in the third one. Hit a few solid rushes, 2 breakaways, and then they scored the third breakaway.
Yeah, the third breakaway scored by Tyler Ennis.
Ends up with the winning goal in this game, which seems fitting for how this has all gone for the Sabres this season. Last Monday on the beginning of this podcast, I declared the Sabres' playoff chances dead, and even though there were some points this week where I was encouraged by the team and encouraged by the Montour trade, there was nothing that happened that changes my mind in the last 7 days.
Yeah, get that tombstone ready.
And not only because of that, we talked about Columbus loading up. Columbus loaded up big. They're going all in this year because I think they know Panarin and Bobrovsky are gone, and this is their last chance to try to win the East. They're rushing it with Dzingel and Duchesne and everyone coming in all on board, trying to get them in. Carolina has played better and better, and Pittsburgh come back to life. Philly beat Pittsburgh somehow in that outdoor game the other day. I can't believe that happened.
They were down 3-1 with 7 minutes to go or something.
That's a very not Flyers result. And I have a hard time believing that the Sabres team is going to be ahead of all of them. I mean, Pittsburgh is outside of a playoff spot, but comfortably now a little bit ahead of the Sabres, and they're in such a terrible spot with Montreal in that wildcard spot, too.
I find Columbus interesting because they're already a pretty good team. And they go out and make all those moves. And what does that say to you as a player in the locker room? Do you not have confidence in us? You got to go acquire all these players?
No, I think they're stoked because they're saying we're going balls to the wall. This is it. They pulled out all the stops.
Yeah.
If you're left behind, maybe if you're like, you know, who got traded away, you're like, what the heck? But that doesn't matter. Like Duclair, right?
Yeah.
But now when you look around you and you realize, like, you know, Dzingel and Duchesne are here to push us, and I think it's motivational.
Yeah, I mean, the coach basically said that I believe that this team is capable of winning a Stanley Cup and put all of his dice on the table by sending all those picks away and picking up as many assets as
Did you hear what Jarmo Kekalainen said? Jarmo Kekalainen, whatever. He said, if I trade away Panarin and Bobrovsky, I'm basically saying we're okay with losing the rest of the year. Instead, we still have a team here, and I like that. And then Bergevin talked about Montreal, and I really liked what he said because Montreal's very quiet today. And he, other than Jordan Wheel, right? They brought Jordan Wheel in, and he said, we expected to compete for the playoffs, and we are. Most of the phone calls that I got were for guys like Kakaniemi, in which case I just hung up.
Right.
My words, not his, but essentially. And he said the prices that were being asked for players. He said people may be upset that I didn't make moves today, but if I would have paid the prices that were being asked, people would be even more mad. I really liked it. Bergevin said some good things, and I kind of feel like Botterill stood pat for the most part, and Buffalo's not in that much of a different spot than Montreal, you know. And I think I'm okay with what Bergevin said and kind of how it worked out. So
I love you go back at the trade deadline, you see a guy like Jordan Wheel who's been moved so many times. You try to remember the other times he's been traded, because he was a Kings prospect who was traded to Philadelphia for Luke Shen and Vinny LeCavier.
who?
Yeah, at the tail end of LeCavier's contract. Then he was sent to Arizona for a guy named Jacob Graves, who I've never heard of, and now he's in Montreal because they traded him for Chaput. Also, fun fact for trade deadline day, with trading Stone, Dzingel, and Duchesne, Ottawa's leading goal scorer on the season has 13.
It's probably Shabbat, right? I'm not even kidding.
It's Shabbat or Cece, I don't even know.
Right. That's crazy because Shabbat's good. But and they did get Brandstrom back, and he's 18 years old, and that's the guy that, I saw a tweet that said Ottawa's never messed up having a great puck-moving, skating Swedish defenseman before.
Never. Imagine being a Sens fan, and I can't even pile on to the Sens. Your owner is just ruining hockey for you.
Well, complaining that he's not making any money, and fans need to buy tickets or they're going to lose their team or something. He said something to that effect. Because
imagine if we got that from the Regises during that whole debacle. I can't.
Players weren't getting paid.
Yeah,
they were not getting their paychecks when they were supposed to. But
the team leaders page on the Mobile Senators website took a second. It is actually it's a 3-way tie. Oh, sorry, the must just go one. Brady Tkachuk actually has 14. He has one goal ahead of Thomas Chabot, Bobby Ryan, and Colin White, who all have 13. After that, it's Payarvi with 7. Senators hockey, good for the soul.
Do you think Sabres make a run at Panarin or Duchesne in the offseason?
I think Panarin's going to go to Florida no matter what anyone says.
Florida.
I kind of have a feeling Duchesne sticks in Columbus.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay him what he's worth.
There's one.
I don't have a high opinion of Matt Duchesne, honestly.
There's one player I want the Sabres to go after. He's an RFA this offseason. I'm saying it for years. I want the Sabres to take a run at Sam Bennett, put him on lounge at Eichel. I think it can't go wrong.
How many push-ups can that line
even
do?
if he gets 20 goals, that's worth it in my opinion.
Pull-ups, thank you very much.
Yeah, whatever.
You're probably getting it pretty cheap, I feel like. One of those first-round picks, maybe a couple picks or a middling prospect.
What did Strome go for? Strome, because we mentioned Dylan Strome, and you said maybe get him here, and he's been playing with Dominic Cahoon.
Yeah,
he's been playing with Dominic Cahoon and that guy Alex DeBrincat.
DeBrincat, who was another Erie guy.
DeBrincat's been super good, but anyway, Strome.
Did they trade Hinostroza for him?
That sounds right, 100%.
Sam Bennett.
So essentially,
flies.
but I'm saying what they paid for Dylan Strome was not much.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Vinny Hinostroza goes over, so your whole Sam Bennett thing, they probably could flip. Like a Gergensons or...
No, it's a different trade. He was traded to the Blackhawks along with Brendan Perlini for Nick Schmaltz.
That's right. So it was a young... Schmaltz played top 6 for them. He usually would play with like Taves and Saad or, Anisimov and Kane or something. Yeah. So,
and Justin, you made the comment in our Slack earlier, I can't believe that Edmonton wouldn't trade for a guy like Dylan Strome. I was like, yeah, that's what a team that actually cared to surround Connor McDavid with talent and guys he's comfortable with would do.
Meanwhile, the Sabres have signed Evan Rodriguez and traded for Danny
O'Regan.
It started with the Baptiste trade. He went for nothing. Why wouldn't you try to put him next to Baptiste, the next to McDavid? They played together in juniors.
Because Milan Lucic is going to protect him.
Right now,
it's the 80s. He needs a Gretzky goon.
Right now, McDavid's playing with Zach Cashin is just tied next to him all season long.
And now, McDavid is suspended, so let's talk about that.
That's why some players just shouldn't hit. I don't even think he had any ill intent. He just does not. It might have been his first career hit.
He jawed him.
It might have been his first career body check, and he doesn't know what he's doing.
He's got to learn from the Radko Gudas school of how to hit guys high and not get suspended.
But then again, remember when McDavid was in Erie and he tried to punch somebody and hit the glass instead?
That's right. Did he break his hand or something?
He did.
Yep.
But in his defense, McDavid gets mugged. All
these star guys do.
Getting...
I was reading a Twitter thread from Dan Carcillo about the suspension. He's like, these guys go at guys because you watch a game where he's getting shoved and cross-checked all over the place all the time, and they call 1% of it. And they get frustrated. I get frustrated. Mm-hmm. These guys are just hacking at him all day, and the referees don't call anything. Yep. They don't protect star players the way that the NBA will give James Harden and LeBron James every single call.
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna do?
Well, I think we're gonna transition and talk about lacrosse in here in a second. Big Buffalo Bandits game. Before we do, quick reminder here, folks, before we hop into the lacrosse portion of the show, you can follow along here to the 716 Sports Podcast on Facebook, 716 Sports Podcast on Twitter, at 716 Sports Podcast, and like, share, and subscribe the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google Play, or wherever your favorite podcasts are found.
And we're going to start this tomorrow, which is your today for listening to this on Tuesday. Today we're going to start Tuesday Trivia.
Alliteration is the best. I think Jeff said that earlier.
Tuesday Trivia
Twitter, Trivia. Tuesday Twitter.
Terrific
Tuesday
tumultuous-
Trivia on Tinstagram.
Instagram, yeah. I don't even know the Instagram password. I have it. Just
I hope you find it before tomorrow when we try to run this contest through Instagram.
We're going to do a Twitter first.
Okay, that's fine.
And-
So stay tuned to our social media at 716 Sports Podcast. We are also on the Instagram, 716 Sports Podcast. But we're going to have a Twitter contest with some fun, and our friend Nick, who runs the trivia for this but is not physically here, is cooking up something special for y'all tomorrow. So definitely check into all of that for our first time.
I'm guessing we're not eligible to play.
We are not eligible to play, which is probably good for all of us because I'm sure 5 of us out of the 6 of us would get it wrong and embarrass ourselves publicly.
I'm just going to use my burner account.
Your by N Harrington account?
That account blocked me.
Yeah, I think I got deleted real quick.
Anyway. Well, Jeff and Mike and Justin too, but as we transition over to talk about the other team around Buffalo, well, then we have the Beauts talking about their win and the Sabres with their win over Washington. The other part of the trifecta one Buffalo weekend was the Bandits rolling into Rochester and putting a good old whooping on the Nighthawks, which does not happen often, improving to 13-24 all-time in that barn. It just feels like a big win for a team that's playing very, very well right now, but always a big win when they can go into Rochester and get the 2 points.
Yeah, it feels like no matter how good the team is, no matter what the records are between the two sides, no matter who's playing, none of that. It never seems to matter when the Bandits go to Rochester. It's just always that place full of skeletons. The coaches know it. The players feel it. The Rochester fans thrive on it. And especially after the way that the Bandits played their first trip to Blue Cross this season, what they were able to do in a complete team dominant victory on Friday was all the more impressive. And they'll tell you every game means the same thing. That game means more to all of them. And I think the players will be the first to admit it. Get to win the way they did in that building.
So just a quick recap, not in its entirety, and I'm not even cheating and looking at game notes or game sheet or anything. Austin Shanks opens the scoring for Rochester, which immediately feels like deja vu all over again, because if you remember that first game in Blue Cross Arena, Shanks went off for 7 goals, not 1, not 2, not 5, 7 goals. So he scores quick, and it feels like, oh boy, this could. We've seen plenty of games get
It's
away
kind of a
from
here we
them.
go again thing.
Yeah. And then Buffalo proceeds to open up a 5-1 lead, which felt really good for them. They seemed to really be established. They getting goals from a couple of guys, not one person kind of carrying the team. The ball was moving. And then, as it always seems, in partway through the second quarter, you're looking at a 5-5 game. And you would like to, at that point, I'm sure, the Bandits would have liked to just continue to gas them or keep them off the score sheet. That game in Buffalo, they only gave up 4 goals to Rochester the whole night. But Rochester, alas, ties it at 5, but Buffalo takes a 6-5 lead into the half. And then I believe it was in the third quarter. Ian McKay, it was in the third quarter. Ian McKay makes a little move around the defender who grabs the back of his jersey. McKay goes for a crease dive and in the process gets cross-checked in the back for his trouble. And McKay goes flying through the air. Looks like a ragdoll. The net gets turned completely 90 degrees sideways. And at that point in my head, I'm thinking, please be okay, because it looked bad. And McKay rolls around on the ground, gets up, and trots to the bench holding his arm. Nothing official from the team, no official statements from the team, but I think he's okay. It was not as severe as any of us feared. But the Bandits at that point, I wasn't sure how they would respond, and there's a couple ways you can do it. You either try to take out one of their guys, you start maybe throwing some hits and looking for a fight, or you do what they did and just open up a can of whoop-ass in the scoring department. And Buffalo absolutely ran away with that game, just scoring at will. You could tell that they were frustrated by that hit, and they played differently for the better.
It feels like the kind of play where 2 or 3 years ago, that's Priolo dropping the gloves and circling off the next faceoff at some big guy on the other team trying to spark his bench back. But now they have an offense that's built, and even without Josh Byrne being back and playing fully, man, they just come at you from everywhere. And I know we talked about it last week and how many ways they can come at you. And it was a little bit of the old tried and true with 9 points for Dane Smith in that game on Friday. And just one of those games where Dane completely takes over, the Nighthawks had to dedicate so much defense to trying to prevent him from just making those beautiful inside shoulder moves that he does to create space. And then you had Chase Frazier having a career game on top of that. Everything that Smallsy's doing, Cloutier having a good effort.
It was a coming out party for Cloutier. He finished with 2 and 5. They also gave him the privilege of quarterbacking the power play a couple times, and he did score from that outside shot. So usually they go 3 right, 2 left on the power play. They'll have Durston and Small on the left, and then they'll have Dane, Evans, and Hogarth on the right side. And they let Cloutier come out. They went left side heavy, and they went Small, Durston, Cloutier, and he did well at the top. Not for every power play, but that was good to see.
Well, that's such an element, too, that they can have now if they're comfortable with him quarterbacking from that side. Now you can switch your power play strength, 3 and 2 versus 3 and 2 on the other side, to whatever is benefiting you, or keep switching it to make the defense keep switching how they defend it. And that's another element and probably something that went into their decision to make the trade for Cloutier in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you add Byrne back to that side, and you can load up anywhere you want.
That's what I was just going to say. They're going to have a good problem on their hands when Josh Byrne is healthy, because they're going to have a lot of bodies and unfortunately not a lot of spots, but they'll figure that out. Depth is never a bad thing. We talked about how the game could go. There was a bit of a tussle between Paul Dawson and Jordan Durston. Durston go at it a little bit. Durston did an okay job kind of sticking it out with him. Dawson's such a big guy. Dawson also had his helmet on the whole time, and Dirty did not have his helmet on, but a little bit of a tussle there. But then afterward, what was really kind of nice to see is DeSnoo brings the ball over the half-court line. There's a minute to go, and Buffalo, I think, just had scored an empty netter to seal at Sean Evans, made it 15-9. And Luke Magnan comes way out and starts slashing DeSnoo and cross-checks him in the neck. And you could tell he wanted to go, and DeSnoo just held the ball and drew a penalty, and Magnan got sent to the box. And that almost, if I could pull away from the professionalism, being a fan, that almost felt better. You know what? You're so frustrated right now. We're not even going to feed into that.
Little
Point
smirk
to
under the face
scoreboard
mask
and
of
just
DeSnoo and be like, whatever.
Do what
You know what though?
do.
You know what though? That's more frustrating if you're down by a lot. It's more frustrating trying to get to somebody and knowing you're not.
Yeah, 100%.
You can almost feel DeSnoo's smirk from the press box at that point. Nothing that guy can do can bother you. Nothing that dude can do that can bother him right now, because that game was in hand. And again, we talk about the feeling of just a Bandits team, again, 13-24 lifetime now in that building at Rochester, to go in and win the way they did, a game that it feels like they never win when they need it, or when they don't need it, a game they never win. What a great team effort. And you look at this team now, and with some help from Toronto losing.
Yes.
And
New England down. So let's just pause and talk about that game. Toronto with a 3-goal lead in the fourth, and New England goes on a 6-1 run to close that game out. I turned that game on in the second half, and it looked like Toronto was in control, and full marks to the Black Wolves for the ability to come back and have a huge win over Toronto. Callum Crawford throws a high hit, and he might be facing some discipline from the league. There's rumors out there that if he's considered a repeat offender, he could be suspended for 5 games, and that would hurt the Wolves.
Because as some Bandits fans will remember, he had that high hit suspension when he was still here.
Correct. He was jumping for a loose ball, and however you want to categorize it, he made contact with the head and was suspended. And if they determine if his penalty after review is changed to a match penalty for the hit, he is now a repeat offender and is looking at a 5-game suspension.
And that kills the Black Wolves offensively.
But if you're the Bandits, and it's just in a completely selfish way, they did what they could do to help you now.
Yeah.
Rochester, let's talk about that, falls to 2-7. Now, last year, 2-6, looked like they were going to be basement, kind of like their Dunzo, and then they turned it on, and I covered a championship game in that arena because Rochester figured it out. Don't know if they're going to figure it out this year, but if they're at 2-7, they can't be happy with how their season's going.
Not to be that guy to take a shot at Goodleaf, but it's a lot easier to figure it out when Matt Vince is between the pipes, able to have those 5 or 6 goal against games, and you can fix your offense while you don't have to score. Versus the reality is Matt Vince isn't coming to save the Nighthawks this year.
No, I talked to Troy Cordingley on the bench at shoot around on Friday morning, and he talked about how well they're playing and how close-knit the team is and the success they found. And he said with a lot of conviction, that guy right there, as he pointed a finger at Matt Vince, he said, I can't tell you the confidence that a big save from a goaltender gives even the coaches behind the bench. He says when a goaltender makes that huge save for you, it's not only the defenders, it's not only the players on the floor, it's not only the players on the bench. He's like, the coaches feed off of that. Yeah. And if there's one guy in the league that makes a few big saves a night, Vino's him.
And this picture being on the coaching staff of the Buffalo Bandits, and you're trying to figure out how to structure a team and how much all out you can do with your plays, your sets, how far down everyone get to the zone, how what time on the clock, you think about just giving the ball up and getting guys off for D, and how you never have to consider some of that a lot of the time if Matt Vins is back there, because you trust that if there's a 2-on-1 the other way, or a guy comes in on a breakaway because a ball came off the boards and bounced back to midfield, that you unconditionally trust that Vins is going to make the right play. And no, it doesn't always work. People are going to put the ball past him. It's a high-scoring sport, but I can only imagine how much easier it makes the life of the Bandits coaching staff to have that level of confidence, and the defense to make plays, and the offense to keep going and not feel like they have to get off the floor in a hurry every time. It changes the entire outlook of the team, and there have been some really good goaltenders in Buffalo the last few years, in Bouquet and Cosmo, and it's a different stratosphere. It's having the best all time at a position versus having someone who's great.
Yep, he's unreal to watch him. The level that he plays at and his ability and his agility is unbelievable, and just the success. I mean, he's had success wherever he goes. So now the Bandits enjoy not only first in the East Division with a little bit of cushion now that Toronto has lost, but first in the NLL as the West Division still trying to sort itself out. The Rush get a win over Colorado to improve. They're the only team in the West over 500. Jeff, and so by default they're first in the West. They're a good team, and there's a lot of good teams in the West. I tell you what, Calgary's no joke in the West, but Buffalo enjoying first overall in the NLL, a bye week this week, so they will enjoy a little bit of R&R and rest up, and that can be a very good thing for Ian McKay and Josh Byrne. Nothing official about the status of either of them for next week, but a good thing to have this bye week. And then coming in for a hot back-to-back, flying out to Philly Friday, coming home for Georgia Saturday. Two big East Division games. Now, we are 2 weeks away, so we don't need to preview them too much, but we could be looking at it, Buffalo either pretty much solidifying themselves as the beast of the East, or the East getting a lot more tight.
Yeah, and the Philly game on paper is the easier of those two games, but you can't afford to look past it. Because the second they look past the Philly game, like, the Georgia game, obviously Georgia's right up against us in the standings. That's a tough game to play. Philly's had a lot of struggles. Philly's not a cakewalk. No team in this league is incapable of winning a game, especially on their home floor in front of home fans. So
what I will say, too, Buffalo beats Philly 17-15 in Philly to open the season. They beat Philly again in Buffalo, but Buffalo is a different team than they were that first week.
Oh, sure.
And you could tell they were still figuring things out, especially defensively, the number of looks that Philly was given right in front of Matt Vince. And as Buffalo figures this out, has figured it out over the years, it does feel like they should be a better team than Philadelphia. And as you said, it's never easy to win in this league. Philadelphia's played Buffalo twice now. Darius Kilgore always said it's tough to beat a team once. It's tougher to beat them twice. And to beat them 3 times in a row is damn near impossible. And I'm not saying Buffalo won't do that. You just got to hope that they don't discount that trip to Philly.
And then coming back home on the Saturday, the 9th, to host the Georgia Swarm, which will be the next time we get a chance to see you all in Bandit Land. So looking forward to that. Again, a bye week here this weekend, so we won't have a game to recap here for you next Monday, but we will preview those 2 games against Philadelphia.
Yeah, we will
Georgia.
Get a player interview. We'll line one up. We will have one next week. Tune in. We will have a player interview to talk about all things Banditos. We'll talk about the upcoming 2-game swing, and we'll also talk about what their favorite color is. I mean,
we'll get some very interesting off the wall questions.
Yeah, we'll make
for
sure
whoever the player is who agrees to sit down. And
we'll
talk
make
to
sure
us,
that we get to the real issues when we talk.
Everything the fans want to know. So again, we encourage you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Anything you liked or want to see in the future here for this segment that we're going to continue to dedicate our time to here for you all out there in Bandit Land, let us know.
And Justin's going to highlight what you said about last week's show, that the Bandit segment did very well. That we clipped the Bandit segment, and we'll do that again.
Highest response segment.
Yeah, and
so we appreciate
we're going to
you all.
continue to do that. So if you're listening to that, let us know that you listened. We appreciate that. Just saying, hey, thanks for that. Call us stupid. I mean, wouldn't be the first or last time that happened.
Wouldn't even be the first or last time tomorrow that somebody does it. So get it in early and often.
Yeah. If I see social media posts that you call me stupid, I'll 1, know that you're listening to the podcast, and 2, I won't know if you mean it or not. So
so
go for it.
We'll have to engage with you to find out.
Yeah, let it rip.
So you can find. So he's Steve Bermel. I'm Jeff Boyd. Mike Babcock, Justin Eric here with you. So pick whichever one of us you want to call stupid, and we'll get to that here tomorrow.
I mean, we're all stupid.
All of us.
You can
all
even call Bill. You can call Bill stupid and Nick stupid.
Yeah,
too.
Bill and Nick, even though they're not here, also definitely categorically because they're associated with us.
Yep.
One last big win in that one Buffalo weekend. Yeah. On Saturday early evening, the Buffalo Beauts win their 6th consecutive game going away from the Metropolitan Riveters, a game that was very close for the first 20 minutes. The Beauts just eking out getting to the locker room with a lead. And I'll tell you what, and we talk about how the Bandits play and the Bandits offense, how it comes to you from everywhere and it just wears you down. At this point, I don't know that there's a team in the NWHL that can play with the speed and offensive capability of the Buffalo Beauts for 3 periods. Because the Riveters came out in that second period, they took some penalties, and Justin will corroborate this for me. They dragged their feet. They were just chasing the Beauts around for that second period, and that's what the Beauts have been doing to teams. They just play fast, they play aggressive, and the Riveters could not keep with them.
When the Beauts play like a confident team and know they're good, they're unstoppable because there's so much skill and speed in that team. I didn't put my headphones. Anyways, there's nothing the Riveters could do. They get the puck, and there's a Beaut on them instantly. And today they can get literally no traction. The team was fun to watch. I had 2 friends that were there for the first time that game, and they was like, "I'm getting season tickets next year." That was it's a good fun experience, and it's more of a intimate experience because you're so much closer to the team.
The building is so loud and everything is so involved. It was a very awesomely packed building. There goes Justin's microphone. Very awesomely packed building at Harbor Center on Sunday, too, which was incredible to see. Everyone involved, everyone just genuinely loud. The fans love the team loves the fans, and a team that was 3-3 and wondering if they were going to be able to turn it around makes a big coaching change we talked about on this podcast, and all of a sudden it's Cody McCormick and this group of women that have just been unstoppable since that change was made. 6 consecutive. Go to 10-4 on the season with 2 games left, control their own destiny for a home playoff game. And I know it feels weird, and I almost don't want to encourage it, but if you're a Beauts fan, you want to cheer for Boston on Saturday because Boston and the Whitecaps, who are up there at number 1 and number 2 right now, they play each other. And if the Beauts win out, Boston beats Minnesota, the Isabel Cup playoffs run through Buffalo. Buffalo will become the number 1 seed and have a chance to, for the first time ever, host the Isabel Cup in their own building. And that's incredible to think that they've made 3 consecutive Isabel Cups all on the road, including one the year they won where they were basically considered an afterthought against the other teams in the NWHL that year. Go against a Boston team, and now this year we can come full circle. A chance to win an Isabel Cup in front of Beauts fans at Harbor Center.
Friend of the podcast, Bud Bailey, covered the Beauts game on Saturday, and he mentioned how great the crowd was. He said it seemed to be really well supported on Saturday, and rightfully so with how well they're playing.
Yeah, genuinely, like not even just to make it sound cool because I work for the team or anything like that. Genuinely full building, genuinely loud, and super energetic.
Yeah,
just
I heard
amazing
standing
to be a part
room
of.
only.
Yeah,
I heard
it
that
was
there was people
packed.
standing to watch the game.
And there's something about watching a game in that building too, because of how the sound carries. You're right on top of it. I can't wait to see what a playoff game atmosphere is there, and I think they should win these 2 games this weekend to clinch that home playoff game. The Riveters and the Whale have both had their struggles, and we're lucky that those are the final 2 games here. They don't have to play Boston or Minnesota, teams that have both beaten Buffalo. Minnesota beat Buffalo 3 times already this season. I'm all in for Beauts Whitecaps Isabel Cup in Buffalo, and we saw that game only once in Harbor Center. The Beauts won a close game. We saw it once in KeyBank Center. The Whitecaps won a close game. I think that's the final that we deserve at this point. And I can't wait till Buffalo gets their second.
The thing about the Beauts too is they're not really firing on all cylinders yet. Players that haven't had great seasons are starting to kind of find their stride. There's players like Babstock. I think Savannah Harmon had a
she was incredible on Saturday.
Good game Saturday. Like, who's that?
I think as she's gone on this season, she was named by her teammates as Rookie of the Year this year. As she's gone on and gotten more confidence, it's similar to what we talk about with Darlene. She's like, Rasmus Dahlin can do incredible things, and he's got to learn that he can do it at a professional level. Savannah Harmon is an incredible defender who's getting chances to play in the rivalry series for Team USA, and she's just realizing, oh, I can do these things I did in college at a professional level, and just watch what she does with the puck and how she moves the puck, how she skates and creates chances. I couldn't believe she didn't score in that 3rd period the way she was creating chances for herself left and right. She's going to be a very big part of this team if they're able to push for that championship.
And you alluded to it in the broadcast. Jackie Greco just overall playing better.
Yeah, Greco, who was only Greco and Burns are only getting in because Casorso and Endy hung him up this season, and Jackie looked like she earned it out there on her own merit.
Yeah, I was gonna say how much of Harmon improving is just in part of her getting more ice time, but being able to showcase and get a better rhythm. And man, Shannon Zabados, what a friggin' cheat code. That glove save in the third period, that was Sports Center top 10 worthy.
So, folks, you can go back and watch all NWHL games live. They're broadcast live on Twitter or YouTube, and you can go back and watch the replays on YouTube. You can go back onto YouTube, on the NWHL's YouTube, and go about midway through the third period. It's 3-1 Beauts at that point still. The game, Riveters just scored. Audra Richards comes down, clean as can be on a breakaway, and shot wired, perfect, beautiful shot right under the crossbar. And because Shannon Zabados is the greatest goaltender ever, unbelievable. Like, best glove save I've seen in person.
Like, down at the splits, snared it. It was
like,
a beauty.
there's a reason that it was such a big deal that she signed here, and there's a reason that she's considered the greatest of all time at what she does. Because she got an assist on the empty netter at the end of the game. And someone commented to her that it was her first NWHL point, but it wasn't her first professional point because she has points from playing men's professional hockey. It's her first point in women's professional hockey, which is awesome. Got a day with both Zabados and Hutton got goalie points on the same day, which goalie points are wonderful, and we should see more of them. But yeah, incredible. And what she's been able to do, she was named most valuable Beaut by her teammates. Already 6 victories, makes her the second winningest goaltender in 4 seasons of Beauts hockey. Having her and Hensley back there, the shutout streak that they had and what they're doing now, it's what we talked about with Vince. Just like, you're going to have games where people don't score on you, ever. So the Beauts, again, 2 final games here against the Whale and the Riveters here this upcoming weekend. Control their own destiny for a home playoff game, and we hope to see you again at Harbor Center when they do so.
If the Beauts are back at Harbor Center this year, I'm going to be there. I for some reason haven't done it yet. It's not because I don't love hockey or the Beauts or you guys. It just has never. I have not. It's happening. I'm.
So the rumor is, and we can't confirm this because we don't know for sure, that the home playoff game would happen either the 9th or 10th of March that weekend.
E5.
So we don't know when. We don't know who against. We don't even know if that's the right date, but we'll keep you posted. Gentlemen, anything else that we want to tack on here before we call it a night? Everyone's shaking their heads? Cool. Thank you all so much for listening here to the 716 Sports Podcast. We'll be back here with you with another new episode here next week, recording here for you. Will the Sabres turn it around? Will Brandon Montour make a great first impression? Will the Beauts clinch a home playoff game? Will the Bandits enjoy their week off? We'll find out. See you soon.